Where would Nintendo be without Super Smash Bros. And Mario Kart? Well, before either came out, they seemed to be doing just fine with the NES, but as time has passed, games in both series have become staples for multiple generations of gamers, even Wii U owners. These are games that even people who don't play video games will play, only fitting considering these games are designed to cater towards people who have played everything, with rosters to make you say, oh yeah, that character. For those who know, and for those who don't, certain characters might just be more well known for appearing in Smash than their actual games. In fact, maybe pretty much everyone but Mario. Smash has sold like hotcakes, which should tell you how popular Mario Kart is for outselling it. Another way people have come to know and love Nintendo characters. But where Mario Kart sticks to Nintendo characters, Smash goes beyond, more liberally accepting any character that has ever appeared on a Nintendo machine. So where the heck is Sparkster, huh? Yeah, the roster has become so expansive that we're getting close to the point where people will start demanding characters like Benjamin Franklin be added. His attacks could be handing you a kite that electrocutes you and throwing $100 bills at your face. You know, maybe Sparkster can wait. But yeah, in the battle of Mario Kart versus Smash, first point goes to Smash for the roster. I mean, Smash Ultimate has arguably the best roster of any video game ever. I'm not sure what else someone would even argue for, unless you're a big Marvel fan or something. Eddie would argue for War Gods. But the roster is no doubt crucial to the success of Smash Bros. With the famous commercial that introduced the US to the series, the premise was simple. Characters people know and love with no reason to be fighting each other, but it's a video game, so why not? Having a likable roster is one of the quickest ways to have people like your fighting game. And while some fighting games have to try to create their roster from the ground up and hope people like them, like my neighbor's cousin Eddie and this guy, it's a lot more simple to just have characters you already know people like. And with people chomping at the bit for pretty much every character, except for some of the Fire Emblem ones, Smash Bros. Has a pretty sweet situation. But as much as the roster has really mattered for fighting games, it traditionally hasn't mattered as much for racing games. That is, non-kart racing games, where the argument could be made, in fact, I'll make it, that Mario Kart has made characters in racing games matter more than before. Mostly because for a lot of non-kart racing games, the car kind of is the character, or whatever the racing vehicle is, and as much as people may fight over who gets to pick the Blowfish or Chumdinger in Hydro Thunder, it's nothing compared to what I'll do to choose my beloved Donkey Kong in Mario Kart. In fact, quick little story for you. Back when I was a kid playing Mario Kart with a group of my cohorts, we got to the character selection screen, and some kid just kind of ho-hum, not realizing what the character means to me because his cursor was already on Donkey Kong, wanting to get things moving along, picked Donkey Kong. And you know what I did? I did nothing. Took the high road, so to speak. I mean, it's just a character one time, no big deal. It's not like it still bothers me all these years later and is something I'd ever even think about. You didn't understand what it meant to me, did ya? I suppose it was innocent enough, but no, that's not the point. You don't love Donkey Kong. You don't deserve to Donkey Kong. Picking Luigi's not so bad either, though. But anyways, the point of all this roster talk, despite giving the edge to Smash Bros., is to point out that Mario Kart, for a racing game, has done an exceptional job of making character choice matter and really add to the game in a substantial way compared to most other racing games. In fact, both series have done a really great job of differentiating from the games typically found in the genres they are derived from. And while purists or fans of more traditional racing or fighting game genres may not like these series as a result, it has ultimately broadened the range of appeal to include a ton of people. I will say, it feels like Super Smash Bros. Has faced more backlash over the years from people saying it's not a real fighting game. Seriously, if you ever want to burn an entire Saturday afternoon arguing with strangers, you're in luck. But I think the reason Mario Kart has received comparatively less backlash from racing fans is simply because it's been labeled a kart racer, its own separate genre in a lot of people's minds. I've been at a party where a Crash Team Racing fan and Gran Turismo fan were together, and I'm here to tell you they got along, had a nice little conversation about cocktail weenies, matter of fact. On the other hand, Super Smash Bros. Is still categorized as a fighting game, although some traditional fighting game fans still have their own category for it. Bad games, though they have gotten a bit more respect as the competitive scene has developed. But I would say that regardless of Smash not having its own genre and Mario Kart sort of having its own, in both cases, these series really flipped their genres on their heads. A little more silly, a little more goofy, but I would still say that Super Smash Bros. Deviated the most. In Mario Kart, yeah, you can be a dirty dog with all the quirky items, but the objective is still to beat your opponent to the finish line like any other racing game, unless you're like my younger cousin who liked to drive the wrong way with all the strongest items and cause mayhem. But in Smash Brothers, you are no longer trying to drain your opponent's life bar like other fighting games. Rather, you are trying to knock them off the stage. And while sure, doing more damage certainly helps, crazy things or very strategic things can happen or be done to eliminate opponents quicker, or just accidentally die on your own. Or you can try to really push your luck by taking a ton of damage before you lose that life stock. And just for fun, it's got all sorts of wacky items to use as well. You're not gonna find Pokeballs in Street Fighter 6, I'll tell you that. Some say this makes the game too unbalanced and casual. Nintendo says it makes us more money, and many people who play the game say it makes them super fun. Those who have played a match with nothing but bombs and or baseball bats know what I'm talking about. You can always turn off items and stage hazards in Smash if you want to get more serious anyways. In Mario Kart, you cannot turn off the items, and probably because it would feel awkward to even the most hardcore Mario Kart players. If you wanted to play Mario Kart without the items, then you'd probably just want to play a game that is not Mario Kart. Might I suggest Sega Rally? The items in Mario Kart are what give the game its spice, keep things interesting. Acquiring and managing your items properly is imperative to winning and can be a lifeline when you're losing badly. Too bad there's not something like that for real life. Could have used a lightning bolt in high school. The items create parity in a way where you always feel like you can come back rather than giving up, and you always need to be on your toes if you're winning, because dominating in a racing game can get boring with no competition, and annoying for the losers. To me, this is a big part of why Mario Kart has such broad appeal, and in my opinion, even broader appeal than Super Smash Bros. Not to say it's necessarily better for everyone, just that more people like it overall. That said, I think another big part of why Mario Kart has more broad appeal than Smash Bros. Is because in Smash Bros. You are fighting, which is very aggressive, and not everyone likes to be aggressive. I have seen people eat cookies using more than one bite. I don't know how they do it. And not only is Smash Bros. Aggressive, but it can feel pretty chaotic too, especially with the more things they've introduced and the faster they've made the game. Look at how slow the original Super Smash Bros. Was. Not as intimidating, but now things are a little more crazy. Of course, You can scale things back by having less players or removing stage hazards and items, but that's also stuff that more casual players tend to find fun. In Mario Kart, you can change the speed of the races, and by default, the items are designed to give everyone what they need. You're more likely to receive better items in last place, but you're also more likely to receive defensive items in first place, which is what you'll need, especially for those blue shells. I suppose you could just put bad players on teams with extra bots or better players in Smash, but I found there's generally more enthusiasm to get people on board for a multiplayer session of Mario Kart. For me personally, the best memories I've ever had playing Mario Kart have been with other people, beating out occasions like these, can you believe it? And the fact that Mario Kart tends to make multiplayer sessions easier to happen, both due to more people generally wanting to play it, in addition to having more of a chance when they do, and not to imply there aren't ways to be way better than others at Mario Kart. In pretty much every Mario Kart, it's all about mastering drifting and boosting. So yeah, I'll give the edge to Mario Kart personally, it's always a good time, but that's really only because I'm forcing myself to choose for the sake of conversation. I love both, and I'd be curious to hear what all of you would pick as your favorite among the two series. And who knows, maybe I'll get to play some Super Smash Bros. Or Mario Kart with some of you one day. But remember, don't choose my Donkey Kong.
He's the retro bird, yeah. And he's talking about video games. He's the retro bird, oh yes. And he hopes that you like